and welcome to another episode of Jason Edwards Show. I'm your host, Jason Edwards, obviously, and I have a great guest today, somebody who we've been trying to get on the show for quite a while. Very thankful to have you, Mr. Michael Patrick Lane. How are you, sir?
Thank you very much. I'm doing A-OK, man. How are you, Jason?
I'm great. Thank you for coming on. And if you don't mind, please share the stream. Let us know that you're here. You can hear us loud and clear in the comments and everything like that. We're going to get into some nitty-gritty stuff and then obviously open it up to questions for you guys too. So, Michael, I know you grew up in Texas. Is that right?
Yeah, man. Born and raised in College Station. We got nothing but football fields and beer, man. Texas A&M University.
It's a good place to be.
That was great.
So did you, when you grew up there, was acting something that you always wanted to do or something that you kind of stumbled into? Or?
Oh, man, you know what? That was cool. Yeah, I did something called Brazos Valley Troop in College Station, Texas, and also Imagination Station. And we probably knocked out over 120 shows within like a decade.
Wow.
I've been doing it since I was like 7 years old. I was lucky enough to get in Brazos Valley Troop when I was 9. And when I was 12 years old, I went to New York and I saw Ragtime with Brian Stokes Mitchell and Audra McDonald, who both won the Tony. And it was during a time of a lot of racial conflict, and it was a show about that. And I saw that, and I just knew that it was like, wow, 12 years old, I got to do this. Mm-hmm. So I started kind of going for it. And then, I met a girl. And then acting was out the window because I had to be a doctor or something that made real money. So I dropped out of it pretty much till I was like 22. It was an interesting path to get back to it.
What was the pressure to drop out? Was it internal or was it family or?
No, my family was always pretty supportive, especially my mom and my dad too. It's just he didn't really groove with it as like a financial thing, like something that you could actually do and make money. So that was an interesting process. But for me, it was being a hopeless romantic. Falling in love with a girl and then wanting to provide for that girl at a young age. And thank God she cheated on me. I mean, it was the best thing that ever happened. I had $8.5 grand saved up. I worked on, McDonald's as a manager. And you know what I did with that 8.5? I bought a Honda S2000. It was the stupidest thing I ever did, but I had a great time, man. It was college.
So I know, just reading through your bio, and sometimes those are a little off, but so you, after that period, did you just say, all right, now acting? Like, did you?
Well, it was weird. Nikki Peterson out of, Texas, she's all over, really, but I met her in College Station years ago, and she is great. She has this thing called Nikki Peterson Talent, and she had been trying to get me to take this thing called acting to the next level ever since I was a kid.
Right.
So I'm 22 years old trying to learn finance, working at a computer company. It's like, I'm miserable. This is horrible. What am I doing? But I've spent over a decade being a singer and like a little bit of an actor. So she had a competition in New York and LA, and she invited me to audition. I was fortunate enough to get in. I met this awesome guy, Al Honorado. He was the manager of like Elijah Wood, and, like Katie Holmes, and he was very supportive and said, look, you need to do this. So it cost me about $5 grand to train in Texas and fly out to New York and then spend a week doing competitions and meeting casting directors, agents, and luckily I won Actor of the Year within my age division between 1,000 or a couple thousand people or whatever, and got scholarships so that I could start all over again at 22 years old.
Yeah, such an old man. You're past
your prime.
Yeah. So you started, and you were in New York for a good period of that?
Yeah, you know what? I went to DeKalb, Illinois first because Catherine Gately, who James Gandolfini from The Sopranos recommended Catherine Gately just fervently on all of his interviews that I watched, and she really wanted me to go with her. And there was this great manager, Thomas Harding Jones, who represented a lot of people who became superstars, like right now. Mm-hmm. And they were like, go with Catherine. And honestly, after doing a little bit of normal college and whatever, all the scholarships I got for like NYFA, SFT, any chance I would have had at like NYU or like Juilliard, I couldn't afford those, even with the scholarships. I was out. So, man, I trained for 6 months in the freezing DeKalb, Illinois, where Abraham Lincoln was from.
I've been in Illinois
12,
many times.
16 hours a day with a great group. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was so good. And, there's some people who really made it, too. Like, Logan Huffman came out of there and immediately booked a Scorsese movie, Limelife, and then immediately just took off, signed with Gersh. And then, he was younger. There was 17, I think, at the time. And then he booked V on ABC, which lasted for 2 years. And there were some great people that I got to train with at a small little basement in DeKalb. So
that's cool.
It was an interesting roundabout before New York.
Yeah.
Because that's what came next.
Okay. So you go to New York and you're from College Station area, Texas. Is that the first time that you had really been in New York? Or you had done a lot of traveling with the music, right?
Yeah. You know, I spent about a week to 10 days a year in New York for probably about 7 to 8 years, doing stuff with like, oh goodness, what are they even called? Like Broadway. Oh goodness, I can't even remember. All these great like theater schools that we would go to and do like workshops with. And we'd meet amazing people like Tommy Sadowski, who's in like the John Wick movies. He's got a television series coming out soon. I think he either won a Tony or two, or at least been nominated twice. He's from my hometown, and my first show I did was with him. So there's been some local success. And Nikki Peterson has brought out some really cool people, like the main girl from, what's that awesome movie, Deadpool.
Oh, yeah.
So she's the girl, the fire girl? Like, she's a Nikki Peterson talent.
Okay.
And one of the kids from, like, Modern Family, the little cool, whatever.
That's great.
I got to look him up.
Yeah, no worries. So then how do you get from that to being now you're are you based in New Orleans? Or?
Right now, yeah, absolutely. It was the strangest thing. I could not make it for the life of me in New York the way I wanted to for film and television. I just could not get the looks. I spent, a solid 7 to 8 years training. I went with that manager, and he and I developed a list. And we were like, hey, let's train hardcore and get you to like a Broadway level, because I didn't know how to dance. And we can get you into major movies and television, like most of his other clients, and said, let's avoid the soap operas. He died within 6 months of me being there. And I had nothing but a piece of paper with training. And I met the wrong people. When I went to New York, for some reason, I wasn't plugged in with that wanting to succeed in a way that introduced me to the right people. So I didn't even hear about Actors Access. I didn't hear about all these networking events. I just kept my head down, and I literally kept training for about 4 to 5 years of hardcore training, just randomly. And then I booked a movie that got distribution on Amazon Prime and Hulu, I think, and Netflix, I think, picked it up too, and was part of the Epics package. I was like, this little baby movie, and that really inspired me.
Yeah.
And then I did whatever it took to just find a way. I started finding people that would lead me to Breadcrumbs, which led to Paradigm in New York, which led to national commercials, which led to national exposure. I did a lot of theater in New York, a lot of theater, and just kept learning. Thank God for Kate Geller. She is the only reason that I was able to book TV. She got me on The Blacklist. And that's Jessica Kelly, Suzanne Smith Crowley, and Kate Geller was the one who really believed in me. And then there was another woman, Suzanne Scheel, another casting director with Alan Chenoweth Casting. And luckily, she brought me in a couple times too, and that was really good for my ego and for my belief.
Well, yeah, that's because I'm picking up on a few things that you said I want to come back to is the work ethic. You said you worked and worked and worked, literally just worked nonstop. What kept you going in the times where you weren't seeing the success that you were hoping to see?
YouTube videos and things like this.
Yeah.
Things like Jason Edwards TV is what really kept me going, I swear to goodness. I started hitting the gym like pretty hard, and I found like these videos on YouTube, which were basically a compilation of really inspirational stuff, all the way from Les Brown to Tony Robbins to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Incredibly motivational. Sylvester Stallone, incredibly motivational if you listen to some of their stuff. And I would listen to that every day. I still do. Crazy stuff. And then I started finding other people like Ty Lopez and Jarrett Grossman. He had like a 365 video thing, and that really kept me fueled. And I was very grateful for the opportunities that had started happening. And then after 6 years of pretty much just working non-paying gigs, it was really nice to stop fighting the tide of I'm having trouble booking TV film, and it's just because I'm having trouble getting auditions. Nobody will see me. And spending thousands of dollars in like the actor's green room or all those pay-to-play places, which have value because you are a business, but they are expensive, and the return on investment is usually pretty low for the most part on those places, but I needed that. It was part of my training. Like Jen Rudolph was part of what I needed to prove to myself that I would do whatever it took to succeed.
It's interesting because there's a lot of people, I mean, not all of the audience is actors or people that are in the entertainment industry, but some people are interested in, maybe they have a day job right now and they want to start dabbling or getting into that, but it's very difficult to dabble. You have to go all in, and it's very expensive too. So how do you, during that time that you were having to come up with money for all these classes and pay to play type auditions and things, how did you live?
I was a busboy and I went in massive debt. Don't do that. Like $10,000 of credit card debt. Do you know singing with certain people costs you $100 for 30-minute lessons?
Wow.
$200 for an hour. And I went so far into debt trying to do Broadway that I came to a point where I graduated from busser to a food runner at Nobu.
Yes.
You know, 57? Yeah. And then I was like, you know what? I am so broke that I really have to decide what, if I'm going to master a craft, because I'm not rich, I'm doing everything I can. What does it need to be? Do I want to get really good at acting? Do I want to up my game in singing, which I was already pretty gosh darn good at? Or dance, because I cannot afford to keep taking all these classes after 2 years going in $10,000 worth of debt.
Yeah.
I should have gone to Juilliard, you know,
Right.
if I was going to do that. So I decided acting. So for me, it's been a lot of allocation for, you know, work my rear end off at a restaurant, and then food runner, then eventually a server, because I needed to keep increasing the amount of money I brought in per hour so I could reinvest in myself.
And at the same time have the flexibility that if you needed to go somewhere, you booked something that you could be flexible to do that.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Here's a big lie that actors tell themselves. And I caught it early enough on, about 3 years on. But a lot of actors think that, oh, man, I really have to have my daytimes free so that I can audition, especially in New York and LA. But here's the truth. You need to look at where you currently are, understand where you're going. But if you're not getting consistent auditions during the day, why wouldn't you triple your income working a normal job and then training your rear end off, bringing up your value as an actor and as a person at night?
Because typically the classes are at night, the auditions are sparingly in between the days.
And then once you get a solid agent or manager, especially in those markets, and here in the Southeast market, you self-tape a lot. So you should make as much money as you can in the shortest amount of time possible, in my personal opinion, and use that to reinvest in yourself, not just you getting more auditions, but you getting better at whatever it is you love to do. And then when you have the right representation and your circumstances change to where you have to have that flexibility, then go do that, you know.
Because you'll probably end up losing the job and all
You
the money
will.
that you saved.
You will, and then if you save it, then you've got some cushion so that you can really go for it, you know?
Yeah.
No matter what, though, you need to be working your craft like 30, 40 hours a week, I think, if you're going to compete. I mean, I do 30, 40, 50 hours a week I spend on acting stuff, and that's consistent.
I'm so glad you say that. Now, there are some people that I know that do very well, and they take classes sparingly, but they're booking quite a bit. But for the large majority of people I see that don't put the focus into taking classes, it's so strange in this particular industry that people do it a few times and like, oh, I got it. But I feel it's very similar to working out or going to the gym. Like you lose it if you don't use it, as they say.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm getting smaller all the time.
I mean, you training your voice and those types of things you did for many years, even when you didn't have gigs. I'm sure you were practicing.
And now, you know what? I can't sing normally as well, like not nearly as well as I used to be able to sing because I let that discipline go. But it's also like you only have so much time in a day. So where are you going to put it? What do you really want? And what happened like with the commercials in New York, why I started working as an actor, which boosts your confidence, boosts your finances, is I stopped fighting the fact that I'm having trouble booking like co-star stuff. I'm having trouble getting in the room, but in commercials, I'm getting a lot of opportunities. So you know what? I booked a 10-week class with a top commercial coach, and I did that, and that led to booking lots of commercial work and then signing with one of the top agencies in the world for commercials, working with Paradigm.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes you got to feel where the flow's going, plug into that, and trust that if your intention is pure, that I want to be a film actor or I want to be a movie star, you'll find your way back with momentum.
Right. Well, I think the two have to converge. You have to have not only the work that you've put in all that time, but as they say, the opportunity meets preparation type of scenario where you could have paid. I mean, sometimes you'll pay for a class, but if you haven't been doing the work prior to that, then it's going to be wasting your money just like anybody else would be.
You nailed it on the head, 110%.
Yeah.
Being ready.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's shift into some film work that you've been doing lately over the past couple years. And then most recently now with Sun Records, which we'll get into. Great show. If you're watching it on CMT, you probably recognize this face already. Let's just talk about that for now. Sun Records. So how did that opportunity come about, and then what was it like working on it?
Awesome. Well, it was great. I had abandoned New York in search of better opportunities, and I had started following some other people, like James Dumont I had heard about, who's absolutely phenomenal and offers those classes like you're talking about. Lance Nichols, and Jaden Kane was a buddy of mine out from New York. And I saw the success they were getting, so I moved down to the Southeast market and started mentoring with those guys. And then luckily I signed with the People Store Agency, who are great, and it was Christina, actually, from the People Store Agency in New Orleans that was able to get me that audition for Sun Records. And it was crazy to go from auditioning to the next day being called. It was like an overnight audition, too. I was like at the gym at like 9 p.m., and Christina was like, and we had just started working together, maybe 3 months, and she was like, can you get this in by, tomorrow? I was like, yeah, 10 pages, 11 pages, 12 pages, let's do this thing. Got it in. Immediately, Kim Petrosky got on the phone with Christina, said, please get him down here to Nashville. I didn't have money to fly, so I drove with a buddy of mine, Magnolia Stone, who's also a phenomenal actress. And she drove with me to Nashville. We ran lines a bit, waited for 3 hours before we got to have the call back. And luckily, I was talking to the casting associate, who was such a sweetheart, that they were digging this one girl for one of the main series reg parts. Blair was her name. And she was like, hey, do you want to read with Blair? Because they need like a chemistry read for her. Right. So I went in like right as a chemistry read for my callback, essentially, just because they really liked the girl. Sure. And then all of a sudden, Leslie Greif, who is a phenomenal guy, one of the nicest, hardest working producers you'll ever meet. He created Sun Records. He created, so many Emmy Award winning shows. Walker, Texas Ranger, my personal favorite.
My dad's every day watching that show.
It was great.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he's leaving the room, and all of a sudden, it was kind of like, hey, I think that we might need to look at Earl in the Southeast as well. Because they were casting in L.A., and then they were going to New York for Earl Hutchins. It was a big role. It is a big role. It's a great role. It's a great arc. 7 of the 8 episodes. So it was really interesting. They asked us to spend the night at, I kid you not, at 9:30 p.m., they sent Blair and I another scene for chemistry read. So we're up to 4 scenes, because the director is going to fly in to meet us. Roland Joffe, 2-time Oscar-nominated director. Killing Fields, amazing director, so good. And then at 11:30 p.m., I kid you not, they sent me another 3 scenes. And I was like, wow, I have 30 pages to memorize, and I have a director session at noon. And I was so thankful because Kim Petrosky was texting, such a great casting director, also cast Still the King. And she was just like, Mike, anything you need. And I was running lines with them that morning before the director session. They were so helpful. Casting directors can really be your friends. Like, do you want to run lines? It's 30 pages. I was like, yes. And then we got to the director session, I kid you not. We didn't use any of those. We used 1 scene for a chemistry read, and then they were sending all that stuff to LA simultaneously to all the producers and the network on CMT, who has been a champion for me booking Nashville as a guest star recently, and then having Sun Records be back-to-back on the same channel. So grateful for CMT. They're doing great.
Yeah, work. I mean, it's not just, if you haven't been watching CMT lately, it's not just music videos anymore.
Not anymore.
Not even reality TV shows. It's actually some really good scripted television as well, so check it out.
Amazing scripted television work, yeah.
So you do all that, then how do you find out that you've booked the role?
It was 3 weeks. It was 3 weeks. Most roles you'll find out next day. Like I just was up for a director session for a Fox pilot. And I love doing it. It was that feeling of, wow, we really connected. We killed it. Why haven't I heard yet? It's been 2 days. And you're like, well, maybe I didn't book it. I feel like 2 days is more than enough. You should know. The network should know. Fox should know that they want to hire Michael Patrick Lane, baby. But with this, 3 weeks. And it's because they were casting in New York.
Yeah.
And they were also casting in L.A. For the Earl Hutchins, that would be a 7 of 8 episode arc that falls in love and competes with Chad Michael Murray for this amazing actress Margaret Ann Florence, who plays Marion Keisker in it. So lo and behold, they knew that I was the right guy, and I didn't come out of LA and New York. And Leslie asked that too. He was like, "Why did you leave New York?" I was like, "Because you never would have met me if I didn't leave New York."
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to change your circumstances if you're not getting what you want.
Yeah, I think that's key. If you just have a vision that you have to do, and you're just hitting roadblocks time and time again, like you said, you started finding the other pathways to get there, and then came down to the South. So, can you say anything about your character for those who haven't seen the show, or I don't know what you can and can't say?
Yeah, absolutely I can. He's really picking up steam. He's introduced in episode 2 in this incredible series about Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Sam Phillips and Marion Keisker, who designed Sun Record, who found rock and roll,
right,
who cultivated and created rock and roll. And then you had Dewey Phillips, Keir O'Donnell, the amazing Keir O'Donnell, who ends up playing this kind of, risque, kind of black music is how they referred to it in the 50s, but rock and roll, baby, rock and roll. So white guys that all of a sudden have soul to their music.
Right.
And it was a sketchy thing. And Dewey Phillips had the guts, thank goodness, to, play it. Sam Phillips had the guts to cultivate it with Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash. So my character, he runs WHBQ Radio,
okay,
which is where Dewey Phillips works. And Dewey wants to push this music, but me as a character, I didn't really view it that way going into the series. But after you watch the series and after working with the amazing Roland Joffe, who directed all 8 episodes, I could tell the way he wanted the character to go. He directs you a certain way.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't let me do certain things. There was a vulnerability that I really wanted to show, especially in the later episodes, that he would not, he really didn't want me to show it.
Right.
It was steering me, no, you'll confuse my audience. And since a lot of you are actors, that's an interesting thing. I hope that this is beneficial because I wanted to bring a lot of vulnerability to Earl and create like a little bit more of a relationship with certain characters. But because I'm still only a guest star and I don't get nearly as much screen time as like the series regulars, it would have confused the audience, was Roland Joffe's argument. But he let me have that vulnerability when it came to Marion Keisker, who currently I just hired at WHBQ, and she's just a really great woman who I really, really respect. And Earl is a very respectful person. He's very honorable. He is not about rock and roll, though. Earl represents the establishment. And the establishment, rock and roll was scary to them. He's a businessman, but he's got a soft side that can come out. So he's an interesting character. He's the brick, I would say. He's one of the cornerstones of that era because he represents people who they weren't necessarily opposed to the music, but it was a scary thing, and they wanted to be honorable and good Christian people in the 1950s, and that's what Earl represents. He's an honorable dude. I don't know if the audience will
agree.
Will agree, but that's how I loved Earl Hutchins. I wanted to protect him from the beginning. So episode 4 and episode 8 were really fun out of all 7.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I'll be in episode 8 hopefully as well. So look out for
buddy.
my little face for a little bit.
Look for this guy. I'm excited. He's gonna be awesome. All over it.
So
I'm gonna get you a hat too.
Yeah, thank you. And so you were also recently on Nashville, so that was probably a nice. And you mentioned that briefly, but so that was kind of a nice 1-2 thing on the same night, huh?
Yeah, that was nuts. It's like an actor's dream to be able to play. And Christian Leese, who plays Jerry Lee Lewis, and Jonah Leese, these two twin brothers who plays Jim Swaggart on Sun Records, are from England.
Yeah.
And they have this beautiful, like, English accent, so they're on talk shows, like, talking all Southern and all that. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm actually from Britain. And it's like, whoa! So I got to role reverse because on Nashville, I'm a British movie star. So I'm going to hook up with that scene. I'll be like, hey, Christian, just so you know, Jonas, I took your spot. Now I'm British and then going to Southern. So how does it feel?
Right.
How do you feel? How'd I do?
That's awesome.
So I thought that was a kick. Yeah, CMT's been great for me.
Yeah, I love the network. I love that a lot of these networks are starting to do more scripted television too, and obviously there's never going to be lack of people interested in reality television and music videos, but I think the scripted stuff has really been powerful, especially Sun Records. It looks beautiful. So
thanks, brother. Yeah, can't wait to see you in it too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So now you said you wanted to mention too about a project, Snow Babies, that you worked on recently.
Well, yeah, we actually haven't started shooting yet.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm slated for that, which is really nice. That's going to be Bridget Smith, who's directing that one. And she directed my first movie that had star names in it, to where I was a lead character, or like a supporting lead.
Okay.
I was billed as a lead, but really I think I'm more of a supporting lead, because Amanda Figueroa plays the lead in that. But it was with Natasha Henstridge from like Species and The Whole Nine Yard, and Stacey Dash.
Oh, yeah.
And we did this great movie called Seventh Secret, which is now in post-production. And we got along so well. It was so incredible. That they're doing another movie which is about heroin and about how it plays in our youth in certain aspects, and it's this phenomenal script about a young girl who falls into heroin, who's in high school. And it was just such a moving and captivating piece that I knew I had to sign on board for that one, especially since I'm starting to do some great TV work. I think it's really important to find scripts that you love that are film scripts as well.
Yeah.
And just go all in that. And with a little bit of luck, some of the following that it seems I'm fortunate enough to be creating with, the little pieces I've done on Six and Nashville and The Blacklist and now Sun Records, thank goodness, and CMT, that hopefully we can bring a little more of an audience to that movie as well, so that I'm not just an actor.
Right.
Because a lot of times I think as actors, we're like, I want the role. I can do the role great. But it's so important, I think, to offer as much value, whether it be butts in seats. Yes, you better be gosh darn good at, falling in love with that character and that script. But as much value as you can offer, I think, to any project is a magical thing. So, Snow Babies, yeah, we'll be making it pretty soon in May. We're just looking for the main star name right now. We're looking for a 16, 17-year-old who probably is on like a Disney Channel show or something like that, who really wants to push the envelope. Mm-hmm. And they just haven't found the right girl yet. We've got everybody else slated, but we want to find someone special who wants to push the mold and get away from whatever target audience they have. So, yeah, man, it's been a magical experience. I'm really happy I came down to the Southeast. And, yeah, I'm really looking forward to meeting some casting directors down here, too. It's been the weirdest thing. Almost no one in New Orleans has called me in. I've met Elizabeth, which is great. Megan called me in once for like a 3-liner. I was like, I can't. All right. That's great.
Yeah,
I'm grateful, but I can't show you much at 3, baby.
Yeah, she'll get you.
And then Ryan
She's
eventually
great.
called me in, so that's been great. So
Yeah, there's a lot of
interesting booking outside of where you are.
Yeah, there's a lot of talented actors and actresses down here, and also some amazing casting people.
Amazing talent down here, and kind and like generous people.
Yeah.
Like the acting here is great. When I go to LA, and I just got done shooting Tolly with Charlize Theron, and that was directed by Jason Reitman, who like 2-time Oscar winner, Juno and stuff. But it's interesting, those people compared to like people down south, there's a vibe that you can't get anywhere else except in the South. And it's true Southern hospitality, and it's not stabbing each other in the back. I have never been that way, by the way. If you're an actor, please don't throw people under the bus. Be a good person.
I think in life, that's a life lesson.
In life,
yeah.
geez, trust that you're enough and live your life.
Well, that's something I wanted to bring up before we wrap up here. And if you have any questions for Michael Patrick Lane, please comment them, and we'll make sure we get them. You talked a lot about the people that you've worked with, and you've mentioned a lot of those people.
Great.
How
people.
valuable do you think it is to the networking skills that you've developed along the way too? Do you think that's really?
I don't know. It's weird. I I don't know. My version of networking is being myself, is being genuine, is being a good person, is wearing my heart on my sleeve, which can be extremely painful at times. But like I'm really lucky. Like Hayden Pantier, I gotta learn how to say her name right. But Hayden from Heroes and from Nashville was so amazing and genuine, and we just talked in her trailer probably for like an hour and a half after we shot Nashville. And Trevor Noah too. He was so nice. Like we were texting after the show, and my gosh, the Daily Show with him. I had taken some time away from watching it because I was so self-absorbed with what I wanted out of my life that I stopped watching certain things that I enjoyed. But there's some genuine people, like Hayden and I were texting today, and I was just so grateful that, oh my gosh, this amazing actress who's been acting since 5, is a really great person, is taking the time to text me, even though she's a series reg on a show. She's an amazing Lifetime movie that's coming out, or maybe just came out as well. And I don't know, Chad Michael Murray is taking the time to like text me back, and like Keira O'Donnell and Margaret Ann Florence have really taken the time, especially like when certain management companies started looking at me, and they were so sweet to offer advice. And I'm not bringing anybody else onto my team until probably April or May. But it's been nice. After the Sun Records premiere, I had some real interest. I got offered the lead in a movie as well for like, a lower budget movie, but number 1 on the call sheet, good enough money, but we passed, which was an interesting thing because we were looking at maybe getting a chance to book those series regs, but networking for me, I don't know. I just like people.
Yeah.
So if I connect, awesome. And if people have time to connect back with you, that's even better. And I love that. Like Chad and Keira O'Donnell taking the time to get in contact with me. Leslie Greif, Joanne, one of the producers at Think Factory Media, taking the time to email me back is phenomenal. But you know what? They don't owe me anything. And I think that a lot of actors that I've met, at least, you can get to a point to where you feel like you are deserving, and you are, but like these people owe me their time, or these people owe me their roles, or I shouldn't have to audition. Man, movie stars audition, I shouldn't have to audition because I've done all this stuff. And for me, it's just kind of like, well, you know what? The world doesn't owe me anything. I owe myself the right work ethic, just like you, and doing amazing work, gosh, and so many things. This, acting. He's a great actor, right?
Thank you.
Should watch his reel. But you know how it is. You just work hard. You go the extra mile, and good things hopefully happen. So
cool. Well, thank you. I can't appreciate enough for coming on. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions for Michael Patrick Lane, you can comment them below. I'm sure he'll come in and comment back to you at some point. And how can people find more about you? Do you want to give out any of your social?
Yeah, you know what, guys? Absolutely connect with me. I'm actually really good right now at getting back to people. And I really enjoy it, so it's cool. Ask any of my followers. I really try to reach out. Sometimes I'll call and be like, what are you calling? Why? You're calling me. And I like messing with people and getting to know people. My social media is M. Patrick Lane. So it's just Michael Patrick Lane, baby. Look me up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just M. Patrick Lane. I'm easy to find. I'm not easy.
No,
but I'm easy to find. So
after that, you gotta.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate you
watching.
No problem.
Thank
appreciate
you
watching. This will be on iTunes, Twitter, Stitcher, all those other places very soon. So I appreciate you watching. We'll talk.
Wait, hold on.
Yep.
Da, 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 da.